Hello, hello. It's that time of the year, and it's also the last Tuesday in 2021. It's time for our final webisode of Confidence Strategies. I'm Carmen Milagro. I'm your host. I'm a confidence strategist, a hospitality consultant, a CBD educator. I'm an entrepreneur artist, and I'm a founder of Divina Botanicals. And this we've been doing now for 2 years. We started during the pandemic, it's a little under 2 years, and we've been doing this every month. So welcome back. I'm glad you're here with us as we wrap up the year. During these last few sessions, these last couple years, we've learned to ask for help. We've learned about confidence strategies that help you to level up and grow your business or help you with the personal growth, possibly even reinvent yourself. Some of you have done that. Some of you are still on the learning path, and that's okay because we're all different and we all learn at different levels and through different ways. But, some of the guests that we've had have shared with us their challenges. They've given us tips. They've told us their stories. They've given us strategies on how to build confidence, where to draw, from that well of that's deep within us. At least that's what we believe here on the show. They've also given us opportunities and challenges, and they have given us resources. They've also given us the key, right? They've given us the key to the way that they live in confidence. And that's why it's so important to believe in yourself, because you have the ability to do this through learning from others. And that's what I proposed to do when I first started doing these webisodes. So today's webisode, it's sponsored in part, as always, by Music City, San Francisco. We are getting ready to reconvene with the construction here in the city of San Francisco. So we're really excited about that. Thank you for sponsoring us this entire time. Okay, now I bet you're ready for our guest. I'm going to read you who she is, because it's really important that you understand she's a very different guest, and she's the youngest that has ever been on Confidence Strategy. So I'm super excited about that because we get a brand new perspective. But don't let age fool you. Our guest today is a very special teen-preneur. We are going to be talking to Daija Piper. She is a high school senior, and she's the owner of Buy Digital Creative Services. It's a complete online business. It's geared towards helping minority-owned businesses as well as women and people of color. She's rapidly becoming a major force to be reckoned with as part of the Atlanta LGBT community. And with her design skills, she helps others grow and scale their businesses. But she also offers management services. We all know that some people that need that. And she hosts her own podcast called Normalizing Me. This is her passion project. And she says, I help people love themselves and realize that what makes them different is also what makes them unequivocally amazing. So please welcome to the show, Miss Daija Piper. Hi, Daija. How are you?
Hi. I'm great.
Good. I'm so happy.
So powerful.
You are, young lady. You are, right? This is what we try to do for one another on this show and through all the work that I do. You are powerful. And I know you know that. So we're going to go ahead and start sort of getting to know you a little bit better so that those folks that are going to be watching, they're going to see it on the replays, but they're going to be watching now. They get to understand a little bit of who you are and what you do and why you do it. So if you don't mind, let's start with a few questions, and you can answer in as much detail as you feel comfortable. All right? Okay. So Daija Piper, who was your number one role model, your coach or your mentor your inspiration, and why? How did that person do this for you?
I'd have to say it's my mom
Oh,
because I would say no matter what I would say to her, like even though if it sounds crazy, she'd be like, "That sounds crazy, Deja," but it's also like, "I'll support you, whatever you want to do." Um, and so she was like, I remember when I started my podcast, it's the day of the launch. It was I launched it August 9th of last year, and she was like calling everybody. They have a podcast. You should go listen. She was like sending the links all throughout family group chats and family Facebook groups and posting all over Facebook and Instagram.
oh,
And so she really is like my biggest support, like my number
oh,
one.
Deja, that just warms my heart. And I still would love to meet her because I think getting to know her as well as you and I do more work together, I think it would be really, really incredible because she sounds so much like mine. And I will tell you, it's the greatest gift besides life. The fact that you have someone in your corner, your mom, that believes in you that way, trust me when I tell you, you will be able to overcome anything when you have that. I had it, believe me when I tell you. That is the great one of the greatest gifts that she's going to be able to offer you as you continue on your path. That really, really warms my heart. Um, Question number 2 for you. Now, you wear several hats. You're the CEO of your business, you're a designer, you're a podcaster, and you're an advocate. I hope I didn't miss any. And if I did, you feel free to correct me. But which one of those roles it's the most important role for you and why? Or are they all the same?
I would say being an advocate is the most important role because like growing up, um, I noticed that like a lot of people had things they wanted to say, things they wanted to do, but didn't have the space to do those things. And some people are shy and introverted, and I'm an introvert, but I'm more of a I call myself an extroverted introvert, where
Uh,
I'll talk
mhm.
if I feel like it,
You're right.
but I don't feel pressured to.
Right.
And so a lot of people are very shy. They don't really have someone there to put their voice out there. And since I was little, I've always been like a mom. My mom always calls me that. Um, so I've always like taken people on and like gotten things done for them and made way for them, and they feel more confident in themselves. So advocacy is very, very important to me.
I love your answer. I would have loved any answer, I'll be honest, but this one is very, very special to me. You already exhibit, in my opinion, what I call the okay factor. And for me, it's really it's such an important piece of why I build relationships with people. And what I mean by the okay factor is people I want to be surrounded by, I want to work with, I want to help people who ooze kindness. That's the okay factor. So I'm telling you right now, you are oozing that factor. You got that okay factor, and I think that is going to help to allow you to live a very joyful life because a lot of people sometimes mistake kindness for weakness. Now, I see that as a greatest strength in business and in the personal life. So I love that you have taken this role on. But I do also want to mention that even though we're sort of designed to take care of everyone else, you do want to make sure that you take care of your soul and your spirit and that you get heard, that you don't always put everyone else's needs before yours. So just trust
Yes,
me when
I'm
I
working
tell you
on that.
that. It's something really good to remember, because clearly you're a giver and you are going to help change the world, Deja. I can feel it. I can see it. Just just make sure that you always take care of yourself too. I love the way that we are able to, do these types of interviews. And, once again, thank you for being a guest on the show here. Um, Daija, why do you think it's important for Gen Z to start their own businesses, their agencies, their tech companies? I think this is something that you're also very passionate about, and so I'd love to hear your perspective of why you think more Gen Zers should do this.
I think right now there's a lot of business owners. There's a lot of I'm going to start a lash business, a clothing company. I'm going to start shoe company, whatever, and those are great. But on the other side of things, we I think it would be very important that the more, I guess, geekier side of Gen Z starts to get into things like I'm doing, which is like helping businesses and um, advertising and things like that, um, because we can really help. And I know there's a lot of those people out there, and there's not really a lot of recognition that goes to them.
Right.
So I think like having one generation like creating all this fun stuff that you see, and then having the other side of the generation helping those people to keep making the things that you love with your shoes and clothes and things like that.
Right. Well, you're
Um,
providing a service, right, to help them get their messaging out there. And as
right.
we all know, that's very important when you're building a brand. But you're right, not everyone wants to be in the front of the scenes. And so the work that you're doing, for example, a lot of times people won't know who you are. But by branding yourself and doing these types of, interviews and your podcasts, you are setting yourself, you're setting yourself to stand out from the crowd. Do you have a lot of friends that are doing their own businesses, whether it's in the background or more up front?
I have a couple of friends that have started businesses.
Okay.
Um, Most of my online friends are podcasters.
Uh huh.
So those friends are the ones, like, I consider them business owners too, because a podcast is a lot to run.
Yes, it is.
Um, and so those friends, but like in person, like at home, a lot of people are just more concerned with um, school and getting a job instead of running a business,
Right.
which is something I would like to let people know, that you don't have to always just get a job. You can do what you want to do as like a side hustle.
Right. Or even the major hustle, right?
Yes.
But now then that's not to say it's not a bad thing to go get a job. It just depends on whether or not you really want to go work for someone else and make someone else money, right? Or you want to work for yourself, which is both are challenge. There's challenges on either side, but when you're working for yourself, you get to put out your own voice, your own personality. You are responsible for growing the business and the marketing and the branding and everything. But again, it's whatever fits whoever that person is that's trying to make that decision. There's a lot of things to factor in, but
Yeah.
one of the nice things that you can do when you don't know yet, like you've known pretty early on, if I recall, you started, how long ago did you start your business?
I started my business not too long ago. My podcast, I
Since,
feel like I've always had like entrepreneurial streaks in my
yep.
life. Like
Because were you 15 or something like
I
that? Or were you
was
younger?
16, 17.
Okay.
It started when the pandemic started, but I was 16
Okay.
when I started. But I feel like, back when slime was a thing, I've always like bought slime off people and then sold it for a larger price and stuff like that. So
Well, you definitely inherently are an entrepreneur. But one of the things I actually, I'm still coaching and mentoring another gal, and she was, she had graduated high school and she at college now. And we had a conversation the other day, and she said, I'm really torn. I don't know if I should be thinking about going into business and taking those business classes or strictly on, on the entrepreneurial path? And I said, well, there's nothing that's forcing you to make that decision right now. And there is one way to look at when you go to work for someone else, you get work experience, you get to learn other people's processes, you get to be trained on and you're getting paid for that knowledge. So that might not be a bad way for her to go. And sure enough, it helped to clear up some, she didn't have to make these hard choices right now. And so she's just taking advantage of the program, and she's doing both, traditional business classes and entrepreneurial classes. And she loves that melding together. So everyone's path is different. You're going to find, we're going to come to that fork in that road too. Just remember that there's a lot of advantages for learning on someone else's dime before really diving into your entrepreneurial path. But it doesn't mean that you can't do both, right? So you're living proof of what you're doing right now. You already started your business. Instead of sitting around playing video games, you started a business during the pandemic. That puts you ahead of the game, way far ahead of the game already.
And I plan on taking like marketing classes when I get in college. That's what I'm majoring in.
Yes.
So that will help my business, but also help me.
I love it.
I'm looking forward to internships and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that you have the plan, and the plan will always change, but you have the plan. Well, let's talk about this. You said you're going to be taking marketing classes in college. How was your decision process for going into digital marketing? I mean, was it like an aha moment, or was someone else inspirational in that? Like, how did you choose that specific area?
I would say it's more of an aha moment. I've always been an artist. Like, I've always drawn like my whole life. And so one day I was like, I was thinking about like being an art teacher. That's what it started with. And I was like, I really like art. I'm going to be an art teacher. Then I decided, let's not do art teacher. Let's just teach. And for like since sophomore year of high school to now, I've like debated on what I wanted to teach. And meanwhile, like my art was changing. I was no longer wanting to draw people. I was like, oh, that's a very cool logo. Oh, that's very nice. Like that looks very clean as like a brand. And so then I was like, well, let's see. Like I watched a couple of YouTube videos about people like creating logos for brands and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is like a job that people actually do. And I was like, that's very cool. And so I would sit at my computer on Adobe Illustrator and just stay there for hours trying to do my own thing. And I realized that I wasn't more of a graphic designer. I like the website design and just putting different elements in there, and I like the back end of things. I like that I didn't have to be like the face of the brand to help the brand and do what I like.
That's brilliant. I love it. Through discovery and curiosity, you figured out what you want to do with your life. That's wonderful, Daija. All right. How about what do you have certain specific milestones in mind for yourself for these next few years? Like, what are certain milestones that you want to reach in the next 2 years, let's say?
Well, I would definitely like to grow my like client list. Like I want like just at least one client where it's like it could be website design, social media management, whatever, and it's easy. Like not as in the sense that the work is easy, but it's easy to work with the client.
Right.
Because I've heard some horror stories.
Of course.
And I would also say I would like to be in a really good headspace with my business. I don't want to be like in 2 years. I don't want to be sitting there like, oh, like I stopped working for a year and now I don't know how to pick it back up.
Right. Right. Wow, that's really insightful because it does happen. You can get distracted or sidetracked. So the fact that you're already aware that you don't want to fall into that trap, that's great. And one thing that I will share with you from the vantage point of having done this for a little bit longer than you have, it is very important. And I'm so happy that you're so clear on you want to work with certain types of people, because I think a lot of times what young business owners or people who are just starting out in business, they think that they have to accept everyone as a client, and that's not necessarily true. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Sometimes it's just not in alignment. You and your client just can't seem to be on the same page, or they have a way of doing things that doesn't really work with your work ethic, with the way that you work. And there's this sort of misunderstanding or misconception that you've got to take every single client because you're a startup and you have to take everyone. And I like the fact that you're already aware that no, there are some things that are more important. And one of those is being able to assess whether or not it's a good fit. Because when you are a good fit, whatever problems, and there's always challenges and things that can happen, you work on them together with your client. But if it's not a good fit, those challenges sometimes can really be hard to overcome. So, yeah, being in alignment with your client is really important. I've had to fire some of my clients and vice versa. Some clients no longer wanted to work with me because we weren't in alignment. And what that does is it stops us from wasting each other's time, and it really removes a lot of stress. So you're very wise to think that already. I'm very impressed. Um, let's talk a little bit about, it takes a lot of confidence to do the things that you're doing, to be a podcaster, to go out and start your own business, whether it's your age or at 30 or 40 or 50. It is difficult. It can be quite challenging when, we know, or typically we know, we can't do everything well, but you know what your skill sets are clearly. You figured out what you want, the path that you're putting yourself on. But what does confidence mean to you that allows you to do what you do?
Well, I haven't always been confident. It took a long time to get where I was, and I think that it took me changing friend groups, like eighth grade going into high school. I went from the group that was always like running around doing things like I guess what more people would seem like fun,
Uh,
like like going out and everything, to a friend group that was very much like super small. We stay in the house, we chill out, we do what we want, but the difference between my old friend group and the new one is that we were more supportive. And that helped build my confidence a lot because I was no longer around people that I envied. I was around people that I wanted to be around. Because I was an only child for a long time, and I had this obsession with like putting people around me because I didn't want to be alone.
sure.
And so I always had to be like the popular kid. And so once I stopped that and realized that my inner peace is way more important than looking popular for a couple of years,
Yeah.
then my confidence started to grow. And one day I was sitting there, I was like, oh wow, like I'm really, really happy. Um, and so, in order to keep doing what I'm doing, I constantly remind myself, like, you worked hard to get here. You been through so much mentally to get to the mindset you are now. And if I ever need that like mental stimulation, I go to my mom, I go to my best friend, and like they're always there to be like, yeah, you got this. And so that's the only reason that like I continuously stay confident. It's because I have people in my corner rooting for me um, when I don't feel like rooting for myself.
Deja, I have to say, I am so thrilled with this interview with you because you are, I promise you, I know women, adults who are nowhere near as wise or insightful or introspective as you are. You are really going to change this world. I can just see it. And I'm so happy for you because it takes people a long time to figure out what you just described. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have fun in life. Actually, being confident, in my opinion, allows you to have even more fun because you know who you are. No one can take that away from you. So you can be yourself in every situation that you find yourself in. And that to me is one of the most joyful things, one of the most important things that we could do for ourselves. So trust me when I tell you, you are so far ahead of the game, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I like it took me a while to like I had to like sit back and just be like, you know what, like instead of like this always trying to get an adrenaline rush type of fun, I'm like sitting here on my couch or in my room with my best friend and we're like acting like total weirdos that we don't want to go out, we just sit and watch a movie and this is my type of fun and it's not the fun that I was having back then.
Right. It's you're defining what fun means to you. So just by that fact, you are not only just building your self confidence, but you're creating a life for yourself that you know how to take care of your soul. And, we need that when you're on, whether you're going to college, whether you're starting a new job, whether you're starting a business or growing a business, you need to know what brings you back down to earth, what makes you feel safe. You've got this. You really do you've got this. I love it. Um, Tell me, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I don't want to take up, all of your time here because I really appreciate that you are taking time out of your busy schedule. But tell me about your passion project. Your podcast is called Normalizing Me. There must be a really interesting story, I suspect, for why you chose that title and what you're doing that podcast. How are you impacting other people's lives? How has it changed your life? I'd love to hear more about that part of what you do.
So normalizing me started off being called Daija on Demand, and it was a pot, and I created it in the midst of all the Black Lives Matter protests and things. There were just a couple of things that I wanted to get out and say, but also like my first official episode was me giving advice to girls about how they don't have to necessarily put on a facade of like looking good in order to feel better about themselves. Because at the time, there was a trend called glowing up, and you had to like force yourself to like get a makeover and get your hair done and
Oh,
create all these new habits. And I was like, you don't actually have to do that. You
right.
can just work on yourself and grow. And
Mhm.
so um, I went through a phase of trying to um, rebrand, and for a very short period of time, I had a co-host, and we were coming up with a name. And for some reason, normalizing me just stuck out to both of us, but it didn't actually have a meaning until after she had left the show, and I was like sitting there trying to figure out what I was going to do to like rebrand my podcast all over again.
Right.
And I remember I was sitting at my island, and my mom was like, I was like, I'm going to change the name. She's like, don't change the name. It's already a good name. And I was like, but I don't even know what it means. And she was like, well, it's making people understand that what they're doing, how they're doing it, and everything, like it's normal. And it's about normalizing something that other people might think that is weird or strange. And so I sat back and I was like writing like a little short bio about my podcast, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be about like helping people understand that what makes them different is what's making them unique, and they shouldn't be ashamed of that. And right now I've been focusing on more like my marketing business instead of my podcast. But I do have some episodes recorded that I have to edit,
Mm-hmm.
and, and I plan on coming back to the podcasting like realm. But that's what my podcast is about, helping people like my age, because a lot of Gen Z gets told like y'all are sensitive, y'all are weird, um, and so just making them feel way better about themselves than trolls on the internet.
Right. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that you are this young advocate, not just for others, but for yourself, because I suspect that by sharing others' stories and talking about all these different, themes, there's a lot of themes that come up, right? Because everyone is so different. And so not only are you learning and you're developing your own sense of style and your own sense of self and your confidence, of course, but do you feel that this path that you're creating for yourself, do you feel like it connects you, to your core being so much more than what you thought?
Yeah, I've always wanted a big sister. And so my goal with my podcast was to be that big sister that just makes you feel normal. And so, and also like when I do my podcast, I feel like it builds my confidence even more because it's like, okay, that's one more episode I just put out to the world. And although the whole world hasn't listened to it, like that's a big deal. Um, and just when I get like little messages that are like, "Oh my god, I really liked your episode," and like I felt really heard when I listened to it, and that meant a lot to me. That first episode that I ever did about glow ups, like a lot of people like came back and was like, "Yeah, that was really good. Like you made me feel confident," and so I think that's another reason why I kept that theme of like building confidence and making people feel normal. Because I would it would be like months after I made that episode, and there's plenty of episodes before that
Right.
that came after that first episode, and people would be like, "Well, I listened to that first episode. That was really good."
Well, you're changing people's lives, Deja. You are literally changing their lives. And that's pretty cool for any age, but specifically for someone as young as you. I think that is really beautiful and kind. Like I said, I believe you are just the epitome of the okay factor, oozing kindness. I think if everyone thought like you do, of helping others lift them up, wouldn't that be an amazing world?
It would definitely be amazing. That's one of the things I always say. If everybody would do two things, which is mind their business and be kind to others, the world would be a way better place.
You are so wise. You are so wise. I love this. Um, Tell me about, what would you say is your key ingredient? Now, we've talked about a lot of different things, but what would you say is like the number one, the key ingredient for building confidence? You've told me about having, your mom and your best friend in your corner. You've done what a lot of coaches out there and mentors talk about. Surround yourself with positive people, because there's plenty of negative people out there, and we don't need that in our lives when we're trying to accomplish something good. But aside from that, and aside from doing the podcast, what would be the other key thing that you would like to share with everyone?
Um, a sense of self. Like, of course, like my mom and dad are super important, and my best friend is super important. Um, but my favorite quote to always say is like, "You have to love yourself because you're stuck with you forever." And so you can't really talk about confidence or well, you can talk about confidence, but you can't really speak about like you have to be super confident or you have to do this until you have taken the time to work on yourself. Um, and that looks different for everybody. For me personally, it was like separating myself from like toxic people and understanding that it's okay to be alone. And sometimes I feel like I took that to a whole new level because I stay in my room a lot. But I really just had to learn to be alone and be okay with being alone. And so finding yourself is super important if you want to help others find themselves. Because, like, if you're lost, how are you going to help somebody else find their way? Like, if you're stuck in the middle of a forest and you don't know where you came from, how are you going to help this little boy stuck in the forest get out too? Like,
Right.
it doesn't work that way. So you have to, um, you really have to dig deep inside yourself and figure out, pretty much get to know yourself. It's like being in a relationship with yourself,
Mhm.
learning yourself all over again
You are
and being
so
comfortable.
amazing. I'm just listening to you. I'm thinking, my gosh, she is so wise. That is incredible that you are able to be so articulate with your thoughts and your ideas because there's a lot of people that aren't able to do that. So I think you are such an inspiration. I hope that everyone watching this interview will take will be able to take away as much as I'm learning from you, and I am way older than you are by 40 some odd years. I thank you. I thank you for being so wise and for being able to sit here and share this knowledge because that's very, very special. And the way that you're able to do that, I'm in awe of you, just so you know. So just putting that out there. um, how can one thing that I do want to touch on before I let you go. What strategies do you have you discovered or did you already have them in your arsenal for when you are dealing with, we all know when we put ourselves out here on the internet, on YouTube, that that people aren't always kind and they're not always oozing kindness towards us. That's a reality. Some of us have different tools and philosophies and methods for dealing with that, with the negative, like you said, the toxic people. What's one thing that you do that you could share with everyone that they may be able to use as well that just stops that from hurting you or affecting you? Because it hurts no matter what, whether you know that person or not. It's always going to hurt. But then we have the power, I believe, to do something about it. So what do you do to just stop that negative energy from piercing, from hurting you as strongly as it could?
um, a long time ago, I heard something along the lines of, like, if there's a bully and they're bullying you, like, 9 times out of 10, they they're hurting, and they need someone to project that energy onto. And so, the biggest advice I could give is to just remain polite. Like, you don't always have to, like, be super kind and all that stuff because sometimes it makes you angry. But being polite and just like stopping it right there. And if it gets too much, I take breaks from social media sometimes. Like, I just drop off the face of social media occasionally
Right.
because sometimes it gets too much. You're seeing way too much negative things, and you need to clean your space. You need to make sure that it all goes back to like making sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so just remain polite. And if you have to, cut the comments off.
I love that. Thank you. You are so wise, but it's true. There's so many things that we don't have control of over in our lives, but there's a lot of things that we do have control over. And we have control over social media. We have options. We have ways to, like you said, stop the comments. Don't need to listen to them. You don't have to. You now, if you are in that position where you are strong enough to deal with everything that's coming at you, then great. But I guarantee you that the greatest celebrities out there, they're not really sitting around too often reading negative comments about themselves. Who
Right.
has the time for that? So we have options. We can ignore that, we can just push it aside, or we can cut them off entirely. And I love that solution too. I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this up and let you go. But before we do that, Deja, how can people contact you if they're looking for some help with their social media, their branding, their website? How do they reach you? And we'll
Um,
be sure to have, put it on the social media posts as well.
my Instagram, like my personal Instagram, is most likely the way to go. And it's just my name, Daija Piper. And I can always give you like a direct link to my social media, but for my business. But my business Instagram is by Digital Creative, um, and you can click the links in the bios and contact me there. There's a booking link there. There's a text. Um, I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay.
Not really active on Twitter too much. And Facebook is really not my jam.
Okay.
um, but yeah, Instagram is just my first and last name together, and I'll be more than happy to work with you and help you advice or work.
Okay. Well, thank you, Deja. Thank you so much for spending time with me here on Confidence Strategies. I feel like this could be a whole new direction. So I'm very excited for you and I to continue working together. I know that it's been a little bit crazy, but we will definitely continue to work together. And if you have any last words that you would like to share with our viewers, then please feel free.
I would say like confidence takes time. It's a work in progress. You're always working on yourself, and there's no like I'm finally at the the stop sign that says I'm confident and that's it. No, you're always working on who you are, and it's very important to keep learning and keep loving yourself.
Thank you. Wise words from a very wise young lady. Deja Piper, thank you for spending time with us on Confidence Strategies today.
Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure. I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it was. And thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Deja. Thanks again, everyone, for just tuning in. I have to say, I've enjoyed all of the interviews that I've done in the last couple of years, but this is probably one of my favorites, I have to say. Um, I think Daisha has an incredible future. I think very soon you're going to be you're going to be taking the entire state of Georgia and the USA and the world by storm. Mark my words. Um, and thank you everyone for staying and liking these episodes and sending me messages and comments throughout the last couple of years. We're mostly here on Facebook and on YouTube. And the time that I've spent with you here throughout 2020 and 2021 has been amazing. I do cherish the support that you've given the show, the engagement that you have all, shown me, the positive comments, and the excitement that you've had for all the guests that we've had throughout these last couple years. And I'm most excited about all the people that we've helped, along the way. Like all things, as we continue to evolve and grow, we change. So I have to just let you know that this is my last Confidence Strategies webisode in this format. I can't think of a better note to end on than having this incredible time with Daija Piper, a teenpreneur from Atlanta. But I'm moving on to another webisode series on another platform. We'll be starting in the first month of 2022. That platform, the new show, is called From the Ground Up, and it will be available on millionaireflix.com. Now, if you're truly looking to learn from people who already have made it, from millionaires and billionaires to celebrities, this might be the platform that you might be interested in. It is like celebrities, but it's the business side of their life. Yes, of course, there are interviews with Sylvester Stallone and I'm trying to think, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and Jillian Michaels and Kathy Ireland. And of course, you talk about what they do in the entertainment world, but they also, many times, a lot of people don't know the other businesses that they have built around their brand. So, this is one of the choices that I'm making for 2022, one of the changes that I'm making. I'm going to be able to be on this platform with those types of celebrities. I have already Jillian Michaels interview booked for January. And, this is working with coaches and mentors from almost every single industry imaginable, from real estate investors to designers to artists to musicians to moguls and billionaires and millionaires. Everything from technology to, well, everything in between. So trust me, you'll want to check this platform out called millionaireflix.com. And then once again, thank you for all your support. Please like and share and comment on the information below this video. Okay, I didn't think I was going to get kind of choked up, but I am. So yes, this is the final Confidence Strategies with Carmen Milagro. And it's just evolving and morphing into something different. I hope that 2022 far exceeds your expectations and that you find yourself on that other side of success as you learn and grow. And hopefully I will see you on the new show, From the Ground Up. And whatever it is that you're doing, just remember it's worth it. Don't ever give up. Don't stop believing in yourself. Don't let others detract from who you are destined to be. Those are my final words on this show, on this version, and may you always stay blessed and kind and ooze kindness towards others. Have a wonderful, new, exciting chapter in your life, and I'll see you on the other side of success. Thank you, everyone. Have a great new adventure every day.